interrupt our program to bring you a special broadcast.
Boom! Headshot!
Hey, it's Clay. How's everybody doing? I got another Battlefield 3 video for today, and it's patch day, September the 4th. Armored Kill released on PS3, and the patch is also released on all the platforms, I believe, both consoles and PC. Now, I don't know, the release date for Armored Kill itself is a little bit wonky, I think, because PlayStation has like this extra week early access for everybody, and then on top of that you add premium members have early access on top of everyone else, so it's like it's kind of crazy. So, or whatever it is, 2 weeks or a week, I'm not even 100% sure. So it's like the premium guys on PS3 get it, and then PS3, and then normal premium for Xbox and PC, and then finally the rest of us, which I would be in that camp of PC guys who do not have premium. So I would have the opportunity to get Armored Kill last. But I want to talk today about kind of the tweaks that they made in this most recent patch. And you know, I actually hopped in this game on Operation Metro. It was a 32-man conquest server, just, you know, kind of your old standby. 64-man Metro is insane, but I find 32-man Metro to actually be pretty fun. A lot of times it turns into kind of a balance between, you know, protecting your rear flag and fighting for the middle flag, because a lot of times you can break through and you can flank around, which I think is nice. I know a lot of people complain on Metro that there aren't flank routes, but I find that if you limit the number of players, that keeps the flank routes open, you know, because it's not meant for 64 players. That's just going to be a bloodbath. But with less players, you obviously have more room and more space to maneuver. But I go down here. But, you know, I started with the SKS, and, you know, the SKS got a heavy barrel addition to it, which it had not had previously, which I thought was a very interesting choice. I mean, the SKS is, I think the SKS and the M417 are probably, you know, in terms of the recon kit, the best choices for playing aggressively. They got faster fire rate, and which is really the big deal. They do, the SKS has a lower damage model than the rest, but it's got the fastest fire rate. So, you know, and adding this heavy barrel, I think, does an interesting thing at kind of making it more viable at medium ranges. And I actually went off this game. I had a ton of kills, with the M47, with the, the SKS. And at first, you know, and later I switched to the M16 just to check out the recoil, but I was really impressed with the SKS with this heavy barrel addition. You know, it just it extends that range of the damage drop-off, so it even makes it more viable. You're doing more damage kind of in that medium range. And I really, really like the way that it felt. It kind of made the SKS a little bit more of a versatile, a little bit more powerful at the medium range. Whereas previously, you know, it was really good for playing aggressively, and it was a good medium range weapon, but now it'll be even better doing more damage. So I think that was a great choice, making the SKS kind of separate itself a little bit from the M417 in certain categories, you know, so that they're not, you know, completely stepping on one another's toes, but there's actually a little bit of a differentiation and a distinction. And, you know, it really helps, too, because you can tailor it more. I like it, you know, how they mess with guns by adding or subtracting attachments, because, you know, when you're just changing the overall model, you kind of change the direction of the entire gun But contrast that with just adding an attachment. You know, if you choose to go red dot sight and foregrip, that thing turns into a hip-firing monster. It becomes really aggressive. Whereas if you contrast that with maybe no foregrip and a heavy barrel, it turns into a much more of a medium range, you know, battle rifle style. So I really like that they give you options, you know, multiple ways to use the same gun effectively in different circumstances. I think that's really cool. You know, and I think overall the SKS is a sweet gun. I like this edition. I think it's a good choice. And, you know, the recon kit, I think that it can use all the help it can get. You know, and it's a fun kit to play, so I'm glad to see it getting a little bit of a boost here with one of its, you know, more core items. You know, and one thing you'll notice here, I switched to the Rex, which the Rex got a buff. Not only, I think they lowered the reload time, but they also kind of nerfed the rate of fire on the Magnum, and I know that the Magnum and the Rex kind of are doing the same sort of thing as being that high damage revolver, but the 412 really was better. It does more damage, and they had such similar fire rates that it almost didn't make any sense to use the Rex. But by nerfing the the Magnum, it almost in turn buffs the Rex kind of hand in hand. They, because those weapons are so closely related. So I think it'll be cool to see a little bit more Rex action. I had a lot of success with it here. I find it's a really good pistol to use short range. I guess we'll see going forward. And later on in a couple of minutes, I think I switched to the M16, and I know that there was a lot. I did a video earlier about talking about if the M16 needed to be nerfed, and there's kind of a lot of talk about it being so overpowered, and I get that's an interesting debate, but the M16 definitely felt a little bit worse, but I think they did a good job. It didn't feel like it was totally nerfed into oblivion to the point where you couldn't use it. Still seemed like it would be a solid weapon, but I noticed it most, when I'm watching this right corridor, you kind of have some medium or longer range gunfights, and so the recoil really, plays a pattern. It really shows its weakness if it has a lot of recoil in this type of a situation. So I definitely felt the recoil increase. It definitely makes it more of a close range weapon, kind of separating itself from the M416, making that a little bit more versatile for longer ranges. So I think that was a good choice. I think DICE did a good job with that. I applaud them. I think it was a good move. But everybody kind of looks at gun balance a little bit differently. It'll make like the AEK a little bit of a stronger choice. The M416 will be a strong choice. And I think more than anything, DICE, it's clear that their intention is to try to make weapons that fit a certain niche and not weapons that are good in every situation. That's kind of their take on balance, which I think is an interesting take. And I think it's a cool take on it. I think if there is a weapon that's better than you at a certain range, then it kind of leaves it up to the player to put themselves in a position where they can be successful with their weapon of choice, where they can kind of abuse their weapon's strengths and minimize its weaknesses. So here I am with the M16. All I have is I believe I just have the heavy barrel and Cobra sight, which is my favorite way to run the M16. So definitely feeling the increased recoil, but not to the point where I think it's going to be nerfed into oblivion. It just is going to be a little bit more of a close range weapon, kind of putting it more in line with the AK, because the AK kind of has a lot of recoil. But recoil can be managed. If you're good with the mouse, you can manage your recoil, and I know a lot of pro guys do it. So I think that's a good way to do it. Not making it so much of a noob cannon, but I also actually spent some time with the M416 to just kind of feel a little bit of the differences between the two, and I think the M416 is a really solid choice now. I think it's whereas before it kind of didn't really have a place. It was overshadowed by the M16 in nearly every statistical category as I get smawed to the face. But almost did it again there. But I think the M416 now is definitely more of a long-range weapon. I actually tried a little bit messing around with it, and also it's suppressed. Because they buffed the suppressor a little bit. I think they increased the aim-down sight accuracy. Whereas previously, the suppressor initially was so overpowered. It was such a strong choice, in release and in the early parts of the game. Then they nerfed the crap out of it by reducing its damage model over range. But, bringing it back up now where you're a little bit increased the aim-down sight accuracy, I think was a cool choice, because you're not getting that damage back, but by being more accurate, in turn, you're probably going to be putting more damage down range. So I think that's kind of a cool way to do it. I mean, there's so many statistics with these weapons. There's so many different ways that they can balance stuff. That I really give DICE kudos on this patch. I think they did a nice job. Get taken out there. Almost had that triple kill, but I think overall this patch did good stuff. I think it did a good job of balancing the game, and I also think that patches like this, along with the DLC, sometimes I get a little bit frustrated that DICE waits for a DLC to give out a patch, but in some return I can kind of see why they do it, because to be honest, I have been playing so much Counter-Strike that I had not fired up Battlefield 3 in probably a couple of weeks. I mean, it might have been like 2 or 3 weeks since I have played, because I think the 21st or 23rd maybe was the release date for Counter-Strike Go, so that was a good 2 weeks probably that I had not even fired up Battlefield 3. So by releasing both the DLC and the patch all at the same time, even if I'm not playing on the DLC, it really creates this buzz around the game, and it's going to bring a lot of players in. And I fired up this game just for the sake of trying to see what the what the patch would be like and kind of get a feel for how the changes would be and if I'd like it or not, or if I thought it improved the game. So I think it was really cool. I think that they did a good job with that, and that's a cool thing to take into consideration. So good work on that, DICE. And overall, I like what they did. I'm going to give the patch a thumbs up. Only testing out a limited range. And I know they made some changes to the MP5, which would be interesting to try out, but didn't really do much to the recon kit. I still think that maybe the recon kit could use a little bit of an encouragement. I don't know, maybe tweaking some of its gadgets or, figuring out a way to make it a little bit more viable. But, that's just me. I do love the recon kit, so I'm probably a little bit biased there. But overall, give it a big thumbs up from you guys, DICE. Good job. Excited to get back into Battlefield 3 and keep trucking along. But yeah, I'm going to end it off here. I had a couple more minutes in the game, but we're going to cut things down. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.